Hey, this is John Classic, and today I'm going to talk about something pretty simple, which is the C major scale. Now, I want to clarify something that people get hung up on. There are two terms that people get a little bit confused about, and that's the C major scale and the concept of playing in the key of C. So let me start with the first one. Technically, if we're talking about a C major scale, it's playing this exactly. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the C major scale. It starts from C, it ends on C, and all the notes in between are in the key of C. So that's the second concept. What does it mean to play in the key of C? Well, if we're playing in the key of C, what we're saying is that we can use any of the notes that are in the C major scale, but they don't necessarily have to be in this order. So if I'm playing any of the notes in the key of C, C, E, A, G, D, C, G, G, C, anywhere on my instrument, or for that matter, anywhere on any instrument, I'm playing in the key of C. So let's put those two concepts together for a second. If I play the C major scale, I'm playing in the key of C. But if I play any of the notes in the C major scale anywhere on the instrument, I'm still playing in the key of C. So when we learn the C major scale on the bass guitar or on any instrument, we're not really just learning the C major scale. What we really want to know how to do is play in the key of C everywhere on the instrument. So the notes in the key of C, in case you don't know, are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. There are no sharps or flats in the key of C. That's usually why we start with that scale, because it's kind of the simplest. There's no sharps or flats to confuse people who are sort of new to music theory. So what I want to do is learn where every C, every D, every E, every F, every G, every A, and every B are on every part of my bass. Therefore, I learn where each of those notes are in every position. As a result, when I find myself in a playing situation where I'm in the key of C, I'm not just stuck sitting here playing a C major scale up and down. I know every note in that scale all over the bass, so I can... Okay? I just played in the key of C all over my bass. I didn't play any notes that were outside of the key of C. And if we're in the key of C and the guitar player or the keyboard player is playing a C major chord, all that stuff is going to sound good. It's all going to work. So how do I learn to do that? Well, I break my bass up into positions, and I learn where every note in the key of C in that position is. So that'll take us to the guts of our lesson, if you will. There's certain ways that most bass players have traditionally fingered the C major scale or any major scale, because they're all the same shape. Once you learn one, you basically know them all. You just need to move them around. There are a couple ways that bass players have traditionally fingered the major scale. And there are 5 positions on a bass guitar. So we're going to look at all 5 of those positions. And if you're learning how to play bass, or really if you're learning how to play any instrument, learning the major scale on every part of your instrument is probably one of the most basic things that you need to do. So, without any more ado, let's start with the very first position. Let's find the lowest note on our 4-string bass. If you had a 5-string bass, there would be a lower note, but let's assume we're talking about a 4-string bass. Let's find the lowest note on our bass that's in the key of C. Okay? Again, remember the notes in the key of C are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. So of those notes, the lowest note on our 4-string bass that's represented is this low E. Okay? The next lowest note that's represented is F natural, which is here. The next lowest note is G, and then A, and then B, and then C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay, I'll do that again one more time slowly. But I want to make clear that this is where people get confused. They think, oh, you're playing a C major scale, which is starting from C and ending on C. But in this case, you didn't. You started on E and you ended on A. How is that a C major scale? Technically, it's not a C major scale, but it is in the key of C, which is what we're after. And the reason this gets especially confusing is because people tend to use these terms interchangeably. They'll say, you know, just play the C major scale, when they mean play in the key of C. So again, I'm going to say this one last time. A C major scale, specifically, technically, is just this. C, D, E, F, B, C. You start on C, you end on C. But what we're doing is playing in the key of C. We're playing every note that's in the key of C in a certain position. So that said, let me cover the very first or lowest position on your bass. And a lot of people would refer to this as half position. That's more of an upright bass term, but it still applies to electric bass. So there are a couple ways that you can finger this. A lot of people that play upright bass, when they are playing in these lowest positions, to cover the distance between 1, 2, 3 frets, they'll use their first finger and their pinky. But on electric bass, you can also play your first finger and your third finger. For this example, I'm going to use the upright bass fingering because that's what I'm used to. And I find it's a little easier to use the pinky for that stretch in half position or first position. So it's very important that when you learn this, you finger it exactly the same every time you practice it. So work on this fingering specifically. Low open E, first finger on F, pinky on G, then we go to the next string, open A, second finger on B, pinky on C, next string, open D, second finger on E, pinky on F, open G, second finger on A. And then going back down, we just do that same thing in reverse. Second finger on A, open G, pinky on F, second finger on E, open D, pinky on C, second finger on B, open A, pinky on G, first finger on F, low open E. So that scale will sound like this. Okay, so let's go to the next possible position. We're going to shift everything up, and we're going to find every note that's in this position that's in the key of C. Now, once we get to this position, we're going to generally strictly keep the finger that's on the particular fret on that fret the entire time. This is what I mean. This pinky is always going to be covering this bass or this range. Third finger is always going to be covering this range. Second finger is always going to be covering this range. First finger is always going to be covering this range. meaning this pinky is not going to jump over here, or this first finger is not going to jump over here. And you'll see what I mean. So the lowest note in that position is G, second finger on G, pinky on A, first finger on B, second finger on C, pinky on D, first finger on E, second finger on F, pinky on G, first finger on A, third finger on B, pinky on C. And we can see if we're playing in the key of C, no matter where we started, that C kind of feels like home. My bass is a little out of tune. Whatever. That's why that's what we call a key center, that we can think about more of that later. But just notice for now that when we're playing in the key of C, the note C kind of feels like home. It feels like we're finished. If we end somewhere else, it just doesn't feel resolved. It almost makes us uncomfortable until we get here. So again, I'm going to play that whole position. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then in reverse, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G. And that kind of doesn't feel resolved. So just to make us feel better, we might want to walk back up to C just to kind of make us feel done with that position. Now we're going to move up to the 5th fret, and this position is going to require some shifting. Meaning, when I said before how the pinky is going to stay on the particular fret that it starts on, and it's not going to move over here, or the first finger's not going to move over here. In this particular case, we are going to move around. There is going to be some shifting, because in order to cover this, the C, to play in the key of C in this position, we need to move our hand. You'll see what I mean in a second. So let's start with the lowest note in the key of C in that position, which is A natural. We're going to play that with our first finger on the 5th fret. Then our third finger is going to play B. Our pinky is going to play C. Our first finger is going to play D. Third finger is going to play E. Pinky is going to play F. Our first finger is going to play G. Now here's the trick. Watch very carefully. I'm not going to play this A natural with my third finger. I'm going to play this A natural with my pinky. Now the reason I do that is because the next note in the scale is this B, which is over here. So in order to get myself to be able to get that first finger in position, I play that with this pinky. Now let me show you that one more time, so now that you know what's coming, you can kind of look for it. I'm going to play D, E, F, G. Now the pinky shifts over to that A, which allows this first finger to shift over to this B natural. Now I play the C with my second finger, D with my pinky, C with my second finger, B with my first finger, A with my pinky. Now the first finger comes back and plays this G, which allows my pinky to come over here and grab this F. E, D, C, B, A. Let me play that one more time just so you can watch my hand really carefully. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here's the shift. A, B, C, D, C, B, A. Shift. And this position kind of ends on A, so in order to make us feel better, we might just kind of want to walk up to C, end on C. We don't have to. We could end on A and still be in the key of C because the note A is in the key of C. But the whole thing will feel more resolved and feel better to us if we just kind of throw a C at the end of practicing each position. So let's go to the next position. This position is not going to require any shifting at all. We're going to shift our second finger up to that's the 8th fret, which is C natural. This one's pretty easy. Second finger on C, pinky on D, first finger on E, second finger on F, pinky on G, first finger on A, third finger on B, pinky on C, first finger on D, third finger on E, fourth finger on F. And then the same thing, just back down in reverse. And the nice thing about this position basically ends on C. We do have this B here, which we could play as an option. Now our next position requires shifting. It's the same kind of shift that we saw in this previous one. It just happens in a different place. So let's put our first finger on the 10th fret, which is D natural. We're going to play D with our first finger, E with our third finger, F with our pinky, G with our first finger. Now we're going to shift that pinky over to A and shift that first finger back to B natural. Second finger on C, pinky on D, first finger on E, second finger on F, pinky on G. Coming back down, F, E, D, C, B, pinky on A. Now the first finger comes over for that G natural. Now we go pinky on F, third finger on E, first finger on D. And we can go back to C, just to make us feel emotionally more comfortable. Now, interesting, this very last position, I said there were 5 positions. We've already covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that I'm going up to this 6th position, you may wonder what it is that I'm talking about. Well, the fact is that this position up here is exactly the same as the one we played in the half position. The only difference is I don't have any open notes, because this open note and the 12th fret are the same note. So before, when we fingered it with open notes, we can't do that same fingering here. So in a way, it's kind of a different position, but not really. If you examine it after we're done, you'll realize that the notes that we're playing down here, E, F, G, are the same. E, F, G, A, B, C, A, B, C. Okay? So you might have to think about that for a second, kind of examine that for yourself. But once you do, you'll see that I'm right. And it really is in a different position. So this last one starts on E. First finger on E, E. Second finger on F. Pinky on G. First finger on A. Third finger on B. Pinky on C. First finger on D. Third finger on E. Pinky on F. G, first finger. Third finger on A, and then coming back down. I'm going to play those one more time, kind of at a medium tempo, just so you can review everything that I just did. Here's a half position. wrap it up just by playing a C natural. So there you go. That's a C major scale in every position. Next time we'll talk about ways to actually practice this scale. Ways to use this scale to practice technique. Ways to practice this scale in order to learn musical phrases. Variations on the scale, playing up and down the neck. But for right now, just learn the C major scale, or more specifically, learn how to play in the key of C in every position on your bass. And till next time, play solid, play simple, and have fun playing bass.